Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just going to be officially updating you on some more current latest news. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So before I get into the topic of the development, of course, Manchester City of course this evening won by 1-0 against Leicester. I think it was Vincent Kompany with the goal, and it was a very good strike, to be fair. And now Manchester City of course have taken a step closer to regaining their title. So obviously now the title race does go down to the wire this weekend. Of course, Manchester City are away to Brighton, and Liverpool of course are at home to Wolves. So obviously now it's in Manchester City's favour is the Premier League title. So now anyway I'm going to update you on this video today of what's going on in relation to Anthony Martial. Also lots of other things to talk about as well. So essentially now the first topic of the development we'll start with is Anthony Martial. So reports have been coming out in the media today, guys. I have basically been reading up, and he did reportedly say now that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker is reportedly ready to kick Martial out of Old Trafford. Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, of course, is reflecting on Anthony Martial's bad attitude in training. Potentially, I think now Ole Gunnar Solsjaker is increasingly, becoming infuriated, with Anthony Martial, because obviously, Anthony Martial, of course, hasn't played in the last couple of games for Manchester United. Of course, he didn't play against Huddersfield, wasn't even named in the squad for the Huddersfield game. Was Anthony Martial, and of course he was named in the squad against Chelsea, but obviously he didn't participate against Chelsea. Anthony Martial. So I think, as I did say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is increasingly becoming infuriated with Anthony Martial, and I think he will consider offers for Anthony Martial this summer. From Anthony Martial's perspective, he wants to convince Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to try and keep him at the club. But Anthony Martial, of course, performances have been way below par, at least in the last couple of months. I still believe Anthony Martial is a long-term solution for Manchester United, but he's a long-term solution, but obviously he's a short-term problem, based on his poor run of performances, Anthony Martial's. But early on in the season, that Anthony Martial, was in really good form. He was scoring goals and all that, he was providing, and he was doing really well. But most, in the last couple of months at least, he has really failed to replicate that Anthony Martial. Of course, Manchester United give him a new 5-year contract this season. I think it was back in January. But as I did say, I think he's now into his 4th season as a Manchester United player. Of course, Manchester United got him as a 19-year-old. I think we got him from Monaco. I think Manchester United got him in a deal worth around £36 million, rising up to £57 million, I think, based on goals and achievements. But, initially, Martial is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice, but, most recently, Anthony Martial has fell down the pecking order. So could he reportedly be on his way out of Manchester United in the summer? As I did say, now he is 23 years of age, is Martial, so he is still very young, Martial. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him, and as I did say, he hasn't graduated to that level yet, Anthony Martial. As I did say, it could take him at least a couple of years, to emulate to that level, Anthony Martial. But yeah, at least in the last couple of months, his performances have been way below par. But there's a lot of problems at the moment, at Manchester United. Manchester United Football Club at the moment, is in crisis. Obviously, we're in the Europa League for next season, but potentially, as I did say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, still believes that we can attract players to the highest level, even though we're not in Champions League football for next season. Of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course, he's going to have his final say on our summer transfer plans. What players come in, what players leave Manchester United. But as I did say to you on my videos today, and I'm going to keep saying it, I'm still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I still believe he can elevate this club forward. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't really got the managerial experience. He hasn't really got a great managerial pedigree. To the highest level, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, even though he did win a couple of Norwegian titles with Molde, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But as I did currently say, I still believe he's the right man. That can get us in that commanding position. Where we do want to be. I think we're at least 2, maybe 3, 4 years off, from being that competitive elite level of football club as was under Alex Ferguson, and then it's going to take us them number of years, to get us back to the level, where we currently want to be. And this is why we've got to be ruthless in this summer transfer window. We do need to rebuild, of course. We are expected to orchestrate a big summer clear-up, but this summer, we've got to get the right recruitment, because analysing our recruitment policy it is extremely very poor. But I'm still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I still believe he's the right man for Manchester United, because because he is still in the process of rebuilding. He is still in the process of rebuilding because, of course, not was spent in January. We didn't get as proud targets last summer, but obviously, not as I do keep saying, none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, because he's inheriting 11 of Jose Mourinho's players. There's still some players here from Van Gaal. Matters here from the David Moyes era. There's still 4 or 5 players here from the Alex Ferguson era. So none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. I know he managed the Manchester United reserve team and he watched some of this team at this day and age, grow and develop. But none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, and I don't know why it's all gone wrong. To be quite honest, because reflecting back when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager in his first 3 months, the results were good, the performances were good, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer exceeded expectations. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's a 3-year deal he's got, and obviously in his 3-year period, he's got to exceed expectations as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But we've just got to see who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can bring in the summer. Has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now lost the dressing room? To be quite fair, but we've seen it in the past. We saw Van Gaal lose the dressing room. We saw Jose Mourinho lose the dressing room. We saw David Moyes lose the dressing room as well. So yeah, and quite frankly, Manchester United, have been playing catch up for at least the last 5 or 6 years, and it just seems to have all gone wrong, since Alex Ferguson retired from the club. It's just seems to have all gone wrong, since that point. Some of the blame, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, reflecting on our poor run of results and all that. Some of the blame is on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because as I did say, some of his tactics are questionable. For me, the majority of the blame is on the players, because a lot, the players are, a lot of the players are losing a lot of the fans as well. If you can take that into account as well. But maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has lost the dressing room. But as I did say, we've been playing catch up for the last 5 or 6 years. Some of the blame also, stems from Ed Woodward as well. Some of the blame does stem from him. So I think, the blame, some of the blame stems from Solskjaer, some of the blame stems from Ed Woodward. A lot of the blame is also on the players. But as I did say, we do know since Ferguson retired, a lot of money has been spent at Manchester United. £700 million, I think, has been invested. We've seen players come in, we've seen players leave, but potentially, we've got to get the right players to Manchester United this summer, and that is the most essential thing. We're looking to get about at least 5 new additions to the club this summer. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's expected to orchestrate a big summer clear out. I think up to at least 5 players could be leaving Manchester United this summer, and now reportedly, Martial, could be added onto that list of what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has basically said. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now is ready to kick him out of Old Trafford, based, reflecting on his bad attitude in training, Anthony Martial's. But for me, I still really like Anthony Martial, as I did say, even though his performances have been really bad in the last couple of months. But the majority of this Manchester United squad needs a reality check, and Marcus Rashford's been very poor in the last couple of months for Manchester United, and I've been very disappointed in him. But again, Rashford's still got a lot of years ahead of him. He's only 21 years of age. He hasn't emulated to that level yet, Marcus Rashford. But I've been very disappointed with his performances. But he's only 21. He's got immense talent. He's risen up the ranks for Manchester United. He broke into the senior squad with Manchester United in 2016, and I still really like him. But I still believe he's a long-term solution. Don't get me wrong, he's a short-term problem at the moment, and so too is Jesse Lingard. When he's been playing, I know Jesse Lingard hasn't been playing in the last couple of games, but he's more experienced. He's 27 years of age. He's supposed to know what it's all about. Is Jesse Lingard, and he's been poor in the last couple of months as Jesse Lingard. So yeah, the majority of this Manchester United squad, of course, need a reality check. But reportedly, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get a spending spree of around £250 million to spend this summer. Obviously, we know the club have got to get a director of football, and this is why I did say, there needs to be a structural change at the club, and that's obviously, getting a director of footballing. We need someone to come in who's obviously, got the experience, someone who knows about the club also. And I think maybe, Paul Mitchell for me would be the right candidate. Maybe even Edwin van der Sar, would be the right candidate. Obviously, the former Manchester United goalkeeper, served 6 years at Manchester United. Also, of course, as well, now he's the current CEO at Ajax. So I think there has been talks that Edwin van der Sar could come to fulfil that director's role. Obviously, there's been talks of Mike Phelan. It did say the other week he was in line to become the technical director. There has been a lot of talks about Rio Ferdinand. Ferdinand hasn't got the experience, but obviously, he knows about Manchester United because of course, he served about 12 years as a Manchester United player, but he's actually never had the experience of being a director. But there has also been talks of Rio Ferdinand. So there has been quite a few candidate names mentioned. For me, my top priority, probably, would be Paul Mitchell, because obviously, Paul Mitchell's born and bred in Manchester, but we've got to get a director of football, before the start of next season. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker is going to need backing this summer. But as I did come and say, this summer, we've got to get the right players that have got the ability to elevate Manchester United at least in the next 2 to 3 years. But it's going to be extremely difficult for us to get the players we want, because we're not in a Champions League football for next season, and obviously the club is in crisis at the moment. But looking at we're still one of the biggest clubs in the world, of course. We are the most successful team in England, of course. We've won 13 Premier League titles. We've won 20 titles all in all. So potentially, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're Man United, but it's just seems to have all gone wrong since Alex Ferguson retired, because it was great under Alex Ferguson. We had 20 odd years of success under Alex Ferguson. Obviously, he didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. Alex Ferguson didn't win anything in his first 4 years, and he actually he was on the verge of getting sacked. But then look what he achieved after that, and it was absolutely fantastic indeed. The fear factor was there under Alex Ferguson, but we just don't seem to have that fear factor now. To be quite honest with you, I think the fear factor has gone. But yeah, the fear factor has totally gone. And then I think one mistake Alex Ferguson did, after his how long did he serve at Man United? About 25 years. I think one mistake Ferguson did, and of course, and that was recommending David Moyes, and that's one mistake Ferguson did. Ed Woodward was partly to blame as well, for employing David Moyes, but we should have never recommended David Moyes in. He was never a winner, doesn't have that big club mentality, of course, and he only lasted 9 months at Manchester United, so he only had a short tenure. Then Louis van Gaal came in, and I had the sort of same level of hatred for Louis van Gaal as I did David Moyes, but Louis van Gaal had a pretty decent pedigree, what he did at Bayern Munich and all that, so we thought it might have worked under Louis van Gaal, but it didn't work under Louis van Gaal, even though we did win the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal. He got quite a few players in. I think he got the likes of Depay in. Obviously, there's still some players here now from Louis van Gaal, but he got Depay in. I think Di Maria came in under the Louis van Gaal era. So he did get quite a few players in there, did Louis van Gaal, but it didn't work out under him. And then obviously, Jose Mourinho came in, and then obviously, Jose Mourinho spent just under £400 million on 11 players, and then obviously we thought then it was going to work out under Jose Mourinho, but it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, despite winning 2 trophies in his first season. Of course, that season as well, I think we got a second in the league, under Jose Mourinho, but he did win 2 trophies in his first season, did Jose Mourinho. Of course, we won the Europa League, and we won the League Cup that season. But potentially, it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, of course, because obviously, I think we actually, recommended Jose Mourinho too late. If we'd have got him when Ferguson retired, then it may have been a different story, because, overall, Jose Mourinho's got a really, really good pedigree. But obviously, at Manchester United, he had bad disputes with the board, he had disputes with the players, and obviously, looking at last summer, the board weren't backing, the signings, that Jose Mourinho, wanted to recommend to come in. And potentially, but then we've got Ole Gunnar Solsjaker. It worked out in his first 3 months, as I said, but since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the job, it just seemed to have all gone wrong. Is it something to do with different sort of level of pressure? I do not know. But we've just got to see who Manchester United, can get in this summer. Obviously, there's still some contract renewals to sort out. But I think up to at least 5 or 6 players, could leave Manchester United this summer. But as I did currently say, yes, so I think, one player is definitely leaving, of course, and that's Antonio Valencia. We definitely know he's leaving the club in the summer, so obviously we're going to have to find an adequate replacement for Antonio Valencia, without a shadow of a doubt. We're going to have to find a replacement for Antonio Valencia, because obviously we had the option to extend his contract, but obviously, Manchester United, opted against the decision to do that, so he's going to be leaving in the summer, is Antonio Valencia, when his contract expires. On a free transfer, so obviously we're going to need a replacement for Valencia, but don't get me wrong, he's been a good servant to Manchester United. He's been here 10 years, he's been out for the majority of this season, with a calf injury. Are Man United willing to give him a farewell appearance, Antonio Valencia, before he does leave in the summer, and we could give him that farewell appearance against Cardiff, but yeah, he's been out with a calf injury as Valencia. But as I did currently say, I think if we can get rid of the likes of Paul Pogba, if we can get rid of Lukaku, maybe if we get rid of De Gea, you know, that will help us with our transition. It will also help us with our rebuilding process. And as I did say, we're going to get around 250 million this summer. So if we can get, you know, I think we could get at least around 130 million pounds for Paul Pogba. So that would take it up to about 380 million pounds for the summer. Lukaku, you know, call it 200 million pounds for Lukaku and Pogba, or maybe a bit more than 200 million. That'd rise it to about 450 million pounds for the summer, or maybe even a bit more. And if we could get around 80, 90 million pounds for De Gea, then it's going to be over 500 million. So as I did say, in that aspect, it will help us with our transition. But talking about Paul Pogba, as I said, you know, I don't think he had too much of a bad game against Huddersfield, you know, Paul Pogba. I don't think he was the best player on the pitch. You know, people have a different precedent. Some people thought he performed really bad. I don't think he performed bad, but I don't think he was brilliant. And I don't think he did too bad in the Chelsea game. But prior to them two games, I think Paul Pogba's performances have been way below par. And that just emphasises, you know, that he doesn't want to be at Manchester United, Paul Pogba. Obviously, he's been heavily linked with a move to Real Madrid as Pogba. Because obviously, you know, going back about 2 or 3 weeks ago, you know, Paul Pogba, you know, was talking a hell of a lot about Real Madrid, you know, about his dream to play for them and all that. And obviously, you know, that just indicates that Paul Pogba is not intending on spending the rest of his playing career in England with Manchester United. And obviously, you know, Zinedine Zidane is a big admirer of Pogba. Obviously, you know, Zinedine Zidane, I think, reportedly is going to get around £300 million spending spree to spend at Real Madrid this summer. But he's emphasising his targets. And obviously, I think he's identified his top 2 targets, and it is Paul Pogba for Manchester United and Chelsea for Eden Hazard. But that's going to cost Real Madrid over £100 million, you know, for the pair of them. You know, Eden Hazard's worth around £100 million. It's going to cost Real Madrid over £100 million for Pogba. But I think Zinedine Zidane said it's going to get around £300 million this summer. But Paul Pogba, of course, has still got over 2 years left on his deal with Manchester United, and there's an option of a further year, so you can class it like he's got 3 years left on his deal. I think Manchester United have been in negotiations of getting Paul Pogba a new contract at the club, but obviously Manchester United haven't come to an agreement, you know, to get Paul Pogba a new contract at the club. Obviously, you know, reports were coming out a while back saying that Manchester United were willing to offer him the captain's armband on a permanent basis to convince him to stay at the club, but Paul Pogba doesn't want to stay, and that's another thing we've got to sort out for next season, who's going to be our captain, and that's another thing Manchester United have got to sort out. It's not going to be Pogba, because obviously it's looking likely, you know, Paul Pogba is going. But as I did say, you know, last year, you know, Paul Pogba was heavily linked with a move to his former club, Juventus. He was also linked with a move to Barcelona, because obviously, you know, at the time, obviously, you know, Paul Pogba, you know, didn't have a good relationship with Jose Mourinho, and of course, Paul Pogba got one of his best wishes. But Paul Pogba is still one of the best midfielders in world football, you know, when he's playing in the right vein and manner. But I think at Manchester United, you know, he's just not playing amongst world-class players, and I think maybe a player of Paul Pogba's calibre, you know, wants to be playing to the highest level, wants to be up there, you know, winning silverware and competing as well, and then Manchester United are at least a couple of years off doing that. So I think as he's told Manchester United teammates he's intending on leaving the club this summer. Is Paul Pogba. Manchester United paid £89 million for him from Juventus back in 2016. Recent reports came out saying that Manchester United want around £160 million for Paul Pogba, because potentially that's what, you know, a lot of Manchester United fans will think he's worth. But reportedly Real Madrid are reluctant to pay up to £160 million for Pogba. But it did currently say the other day in the press that reportedly Real Madrid are not willing to meet his £290,000 a week wages. Potentially they're not willing to meet his £290,000 a week wages. So it did say Paul Pogba would have to take a pay cut. And it allegedly said that Paul Pogba had agreed the personal terms. It said he agreed the wages. It said a £10 million a year deal had been agreed. But now reports were coming out a couple of days ago, as I did give you an update on, saying that Manchester United are demanding at least one of Real Madrid's players in return, you know, if we are willing to let Pogba go to Real Madrid. So it did say ultimately that Manchester United want Rafael Varane and Toni Kroos in exchange for Paul Pogba. And, you know, I would like Rafael Varane to be part of the deal as Pogba. I'd like Toni Kroos to be part of the deal as Pogba. There was also talks of possibly, you know, Gareth Bale being part of the deal for Paul Pogba. But as I did say, I don't want Gareth Bale at Manchester United. If you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, you know, I would have definitely said yeah, because Gareth Bale was still playing to the highest level then, but he's not playing to the highest level now. You know, he's injury prone, he's on the decline, and I think if he came to Manchester United, he'd just turn out to be another Alexis Sanchez would Gareth Bale. He's nearly 30 years of age now, is Bale, and as I said, his ratio's still very, very good. Obviously, all of his silverware he has won has obviously become at Madrid. This is now his 6th season with Real Madrid. Is Gareth Bale's. Obviously, he's had a lot of experience of playing in the Premier League. Of course, when he was younger, he had 6 good years with Tottenham, and initially he learned his trade in the Premier League. Did Gareth Bale, and I think he actually began his career with Southampton as a youngster. Did Bale, but now I still think he's got a contract with Real Madrid until 2022. Manchester United have been linked. There's been the rumours going on about Bale to Manchester United for a number of years now. I think I've been hearing the rumours since 2013 or something. But yeah, I don't. Obviously, Real Madrid don't want him. Obviously, Real Madrid want to get rid of him in the summer. And Real Madrid paid £85 million for him from Tottenham back in 2013. But Real Madrid, of course, are not going. They're not going to recoup the initial £85 million they paid for him from Tottenham. They could still maybe get 50, 60 million pounds for Bale, but I don't think they'll get the £85 million they pay for him. So I don't want Bale, coming to Manchester United. Even if he is to make a return back to the Premier League, I wouldn't want him to come to Manchester United. There were talks a while back saying that he could make a return back to his former club, Tottenham, Gareth Bale. But yeah, I don't want him at Manchester United because he's injury prone as well, and that's what would really, really concern me. But if you'd asked me maybe even 2 years ago, I'd have took Gareth Bale, I'd have snatched your hand off, but I don't want Gareth Bale now. But I really, really do like Rafael Varane, and he's a player I'd love to come to Manchester United, Rafael Varane. But the problem is Real Madrid are reluctant to sell him. Real Madrid will not let Rafael Varane go. Of course, unless his current huge release clause is triggered, which is I think his release clause in his current deal must be around £400 million. Rafael Varane's, I think he's got a contract with Real Madrid till 2022. I think he's been at Real Madrid a number of years now. He's actually been at Real Madrid 8 years now as Rafael Varane. I think he's been there 8 years. He's nearly heading into his prime. He's 25 years of age. He's Rafael Varane, so he's still got a lot of years ahead of him. And I think if he did come to the Premier League, he will produce and deliver the same element of the performances, that he has been doing in his number of years in Spain with Real Madrid. And it's remarkable what he's achieved. He's won 15, 16 major honours with Real Madrid. And reports were reflecting out a while back saying that he may be considering, leaving Real Madrid this summer. Rafael Varane. But yeah, I really, really do like him. We need someone, to come in, to address our defensive deficiencies, because obviously, we need someone that can go alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line. And, Rafael Varane, would be the right candidate indeed, but I don't really see us getting him. And even, discarding the swap deal, I'd love Rafael Varane as part of the deal with Pogba, but even discarding the swap deal, and if he was to be for sale, which I don't think he is, he's going to cost you it's going to cost you over £100 million, is Rafael Varane. But yeah, I don't really see us getting him, to be quite honest with you. The Toni Kroos one, I think Real Madrid are willing to do business, with Toni Kroos, but I wouldn't be too sure about Toni Kroos. I think he's a good player, Toni Kroos, but obviously he's never played in the Premier League as Toni Kroos. Obviously, I think Manchester United were on the verge of getting Toni Kroos, was it back in the 2013-14 season? But obviously, we didn't come to an agreement to get him. I think he's primarily a central midfielder, is Toni Kroos. He can also play as a defensive midfielder. He has been at Real Madrid a number of years now as Toni Kroos. I think he's a former Bayern Munich player. I think he did have a loan spell with Bayer Leverkusen, Toni Kroos, and he's age 29 now, so he basically now is aging up. So I wouldn't be sure if I wanted Toni Kroos to come in, but he is regarded as one of the best midfielders in the world. His passing ability is good, his vision's good, his awareness is good. Very, very good midfielder indeed. He's Toni Kroos, and I think without a swap deal involved, I think you could maybe get Toni Kroos for maybe about 40, 50 million pounds. This is obviously not including the swap deal with Pogba. If we were to go in for him, without including a deal, with Paul Pogba, you'd probably get him for around 40, 50 million pounds. But yeah, there was talks about that in the media a couple of days ago. But obviously we do know, Manchester United, of course, need a couple of additions in midfield. We need a replacement for Pogba. I think we need 3 additions in midfield if Pogba leaves, which is looking very, very likely. We need a replacement for Pogba, we need a replacement for Herrera, and for me, Matic just isn't reliable enough for Manchester United. Nemanja Matic, he's aging up as well. I've got strong reservations about him. He's too slow, and for me, we need a centre defensive midfielder that's fast and tenacious. So for me, if Pogba leaves, we're going to need 3 new additions in that midfield. We need some creativeness. We need depth in that midfield. We need creativeness in that midfield, and we need someone that can pose a goal threat, someone that can score goals, someone that can provide. And so we've showed an interest in quite a few midfielders. On the situation with De Gea now, Manchester United, as I did say, I've obviously not yet come to an agreement, to get David De Gea a new contract at the club, and I think Man United are going to give him a certain length of time, whether he's going to sign a new contract or not. Reports came out the other day saying that Manchester United are reportedly willing to offer David De Gea a contract worth around £300,000 a week, but I think De Gea reportedly is demanding that he wants around £350,000 a week if he is to stay at Manchester United. And De Gea is 28 years of age. I've admired his fantastic career so far with Manchester United. He's been here since the Alex Ferguson era. He's won everything domestically here. He's won the club's player of the year 4 times out of the last 5 years, De Gea, and I think he's made over 300 odd appearances in all competitions as David De Gea. Of course, if Manchester United cannot come to an agreement to get him a new contract, of course, obviously, the club are going to want to cash in for him this summer rather than letting go on a free in the summer of 2020. We do know De Gea's heavily linked with a 90 million move to PSG. Obviously, we do know that Real Madrid have been long admirers of him. Obviously, Real Madrid were on the brink of getting De Gea back in 2015, but due to a fax machine, the deal had come to a conclusion, and obviously, De Gea, remained loyal with Manchester United. But yeah, they're still being linked. He's still being linked to a move to Real Madrid. But the recent reports have been coming out saying that PSG are reportedly willing to offer him a deal worth £90 million, and it did reportedly say that they're willing to offer him around the £450,000 a week contract allegedly, and that's actually more than double of what he's currently on at the moment with Manchester United, because he's on about £200,000 a week at the moment with Manchester United. So we have not yet come to an agreement to get him a new contract. De Gea, though, didn't do too much wrong against Huddersfield. He did make a couple of saves, but we do know most recently, De Gea has been making costly mistakes. But he's just going through a difficult period at the moment. David De Gea, I think he needs the summer and that to think about things. Obviously, we've got one more game, and then it's obviously at the end of the season. But De Gea is going through a difficult time at the moment. He's been here 8 years. He's been a fantastic servant to the club, and I hope he signs a new contract with Manchester United. But if he is to leave, of course, obviously, Manchester United are going to have to get a replacement for David De Gea. So that is very, very essential indeed. Potentially, Lukaku. Now, obviously, I think it's going to be likely, Lukaku is going to be leaving Manchester United this summer, Romelu Lukaku. And, he was really, really good in his first season, Romelu Lukaku. He scored 27 goals in all competitions in his first season. But obviously, this season, he's failed to replicate that as Romelu Lukaku. And, Lukaku's initially lost his place in his team because we know Rashford's first choice ahead of Lukaku. But I think if Man United get rid of him this summer, I think his preference, he wants to make the move to Italy, does Lukaku, because obviously he's been linked with Juventus, he's been linked with Inter Milan. I think Lukaku admitted from his own perspective that it would be a dream for him, to play in the Serie A. But I think his own preference here, he'd actually prefer to make the move to Juventus with Romelu Lukaku. Manchester United, of course, paid £75 million for him, plus £15 million in add-ons, which had risen the deal to £90 million. And of course, he's still got he's on about £250,000 a week, and he's got about 3 years left on his contract as Romelu Lukaku. So I think, Man United are considering getting rid of him this summer. I think Lukaku, from his own preference, is considering leaving this summer as well. But yeah, I think he's going to be on his route. But Man United will be looking to recoup the initial, £75 million we paid for him from Everton. But he's still well Premier League proven. He has got a good pedigree in the Premier League. But for me, he's a big game baller. His first touch concerns me, and hasn't really got the capabilities, to play to the highest level as Romelu Lukaku. So yeah, I think he's on his way out in the summer. And of course, if Lukaku leaves, obviously we're going to need a replacement for him. Obviously, we're going to need a replacement for him, because Lukaku is a prolific goal scorer, but he isn't good enough, when it comes to playing the big teams, Romelu Lukaku. But we need a replacement for him if he leaves, because as I said, the likes of Martial and Rashford are not reliable enough. They're not trustworthy enough, to get us them goals we need. And yeah, so we're definitely going to need a replacement if Lukaku leaves. And as I did say, Ashley Young definitely needs to leave Manchester United as well, because Ashley Young has been very, very inconsistent. As I did say, he needs to be dropped for the Cardiff game. Should have been dropped for the Huddersfield game, but weren't dropped. Ashley Young. Ashley Young, it was bad business for Manchester United, of course. Giving Ashley Young that new 1 year extension. Again, he's been a long-serving player at the club. Ashley Young's been here 8 years now. He has made over 300 appearances in all competitions, and reverting back, to when he was younger. Ashley Young was a really, really good player. He was a good winner, back in the day was Ashton, but now he's past his sell-by date. He's 33 years of age. He's nearly 34. By the time his new one-year extension expires, he'll be nearly 35 years of age. So he'll be coming to a conclusion of his playing career anyway, with Ashley Young. But we shouldn't give him that new one-year extension. So for me, at that right-back position, we definitely need an upgrade to Ashley Young. I know we've got Diego Dalot there, but Diego Dalot's only young. He's 19, 20 years of age. We got him from Porto last summer for around £19 million, was it? But he's still in the process of developing his Diego Dalot. But we need a cover-up for Diego Dalot at that right-back position. As I did say, I think the likes of Smalling and Jones, should be on the way out in the summer. Maybe we could even maybe in the summer we could get an unexpected summer. We could maybe only see 3 or 4 players leave. We could only see 3 or 4 players come in, and that's what could basically happen. But I'd like to see the likes of Chris Smalling and Phil Jones, leave Manchester United this summer. Again, it was bad business from the club, giving Chris Smalling and Phil Jones a new long-term contract, because Jones is just not good enough, to represent Manchester United. I'm not reliable enough. He's too easy predictable, plays a lot of misplaced passage, makes too many mistakes, as I said, makes a lot of individual errors, like he did at the weekend against Huddersfield. And Phil Jones, we should have never given him a new long-term contract. I know we got him from Blackburn, was it in 2011 or 12, so he's been here about 7-8 years now at Manchester United. He has proven himself during his tenure as a Manchester United player. When he can get them running games, he can perform well, but for me, Phil Jones needs to leave the club in the summer. And Chris Smalling, this is Chris Smalling's 9th season at Manchester United, and he's made over 300 appearances in all competitions for Manchester United as Chris Smalling. But as I said, he has performed in quite a few of his games. Chris Smalling, since he recovered from that long-term absence. But as I did say, again, not reliable enough, for Manchester United. And let's be honest, the majority of this Manchester United squad at the moment isn't reliable enough, as I said. But yeah, Chris Smalling needs to go in the summer for me. But it is good that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker is emphasising an interest in quite a few young upcoming talents. And as I did currently say, the likes of Mason Greenwood's an upcoming talent, for Manchester United. He's the upcoming future, because, we've got to give him the chance, I think, against Cardiff. I thought he would have been named in the squad for the Huddersfield game, but he wasn't. But we've got to give him the chance, against Cardiff, because obviously we've nothing to play for now. So give him a run out against Cardiff, Mason Green, because he's done fantastically well in the reserve team. I think Chon, again, is an upcoming future for Manchester United. He came on in the Huddersfield game, and I thought he looked very, very lively when he came on. I think he inspired us when he came on. Chon, he had a great chance, so I thought he did quite well when he came on in the Huddersfield game. So maybe he should be given a chance against Cardiff, should Chong as well. But as I said, we've got quite a lot of, aging up players in that squad, and this is maybe why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is emphasising interest in quite a few young players. But as I said, I think Darmian also on his way out in the club, because Darmian's been very, very inconsistent as a Manchester United. But let's be honest, he hasn't really had the chance. Obviously, he's just recovered from a long-term absence as Matteo Darmian. And he's been here since, 2015. I think Manchester United, got him from Torino for about, just over £12 million. So I think he's leaving. I think also, definitely, Marcus Rojo is also on his way out the club, because Marcus Rojo hasn't really had the chance at Manchester United. Hasn't really had the chance, and he has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player as Rojo. Just recently, recovered from long-term absence. So I think he's also going to be on his way out. Alexis Sanchez. Now, reports are coming out about Alexis Sanchez saying that he has sustained another injury. He's already suffered about 3 injuries as a Manchester United player, and he's only been here about 15, 16 months. I think it did say he came off injured in the Huddersfield game, reportedly with an ankle injury, according to reports. So Sanchez, may not be able to participate in the Cardiff game, but it did say he sustained an ankle injury. But as I did currently say, going back to Sanchez, when we first got Sanchez, was it 15, 16 months ago from Arsenal? Obviously, it was involved in a swap deal with Mkhitaryan. Obviously, Sanchez came to United. Mkhitaryan, of course, went to Arsenal. And I thought Sanchez, he was a fundamental player for Arsenal. And I thought, what he did at Arsenal, I thought he was going to come and replicate the same vein of, performances, Arsenal. I thought he was going to come to Manchester United and replicate the same vein of, performances, what he was doing whilst he was at Arsenal. But obviously, that just hasn't occurred, to be quite honest with you. But at one point, it was looking like Sanchez actually was going to be going to Manchester City in that period. But obviously, he didn't go to Manchester City. Alexis Sanchez. And actually, Alexis Sanchez, of course, has obviously played under Pep Guardiola. Obviously, when Sanchez was at Barcelona. But at one point, it did look like he was going to Manchester City. And I think Manchester City were willing to offer him the same amount, of wages, of what Manchester United were offering him. But obviously, his preferred destination at that moment in time, 15, 16 months ago, obviously, was Manchester United. But since he's been at Manchester United, Alexis Sanchez, he's just been so inconsistent. We know mainly he isn't the first choice, but when he's been given the opportunity, he just looks so restricted. Just looks as though he hasn't been getting that freedom, Alexis Sanchez. And he obviously, he hasn't, showed the same element of the performances, what he did, when he was at Arsenal, because he was really, really good at Arsenal, was Alexis Sanchez, but he hasn't, replicated that at Manchester United, Alexis Sanchez. But considering his wages on, I think it's totally having a bad effect on our wage structure, to be quite honest. And I think his wages are having a bad effect on the club. Sanchez is on about, 400 grand a week or something like that, and it's totally affecting our wage structure by the way. So I think Manchester United are willing to pay willing to pay half of his wages off, so we can sanction Alexis Sanchez out of the club this summer. But he is the problem, is Alexis Sanchez. He is the problem, and we've got to get rid of him in the summer. And he's just recently, recovered from a knee injury, but now recent reports are saying that he's sustained an ankle injury, so he may not be involved against Cardiff. So he's definitely a player that needs to go. I don't want Juan Mata to leave the club, because I think Juan Mata has been a good servant to Manchester United, but Juan Mata is no longer playing to the highest level, as you all know. He's lost that yard of pace as Juan Mata. As I did say, he's 31 years of age now. I think Man United are willing to offer Juan Mata a new 1-year extension. But I can see him leaving in the summer when his contract term expires. Recent reports have come out saying that, Brighton are reportedly willing to offer him a 2-year contract, to convince him to stay in the Premier League. But I think there were talks as well saying that, Barcelona were in talks of getting Juan Mata on a free transfer. But it did reportedly say that Juan Mata would have to take a pay cut on his £170,000 a week wages. And we know Juan Mata's played in the last 2 games, and to be quite fair, he has been impressive. Initially has lost his place in the team. But obviously he has been playing in the last couple of games as Juan Mata. But I can see him leaving in the summer. Unless Manchester United, do come to an agreement, to get him a new 1-year extension. I think he's been here 5 years now. He's made over 200 appearances for the club in all competitions. I think he scored about 50-odd goals for Manchester United, or is this all in all in the Premier League? I'm not too sure. But yeah, very, very good player, as I said. Obviously had a lot of experience playing in Spain when he was younger, Juan Mata. So he may, from his own preference, maybe wants to make a return to Spain. But I can see him going. But Manchester United, want to get the right players in this summer. And I really, really like Jadon Sancho. And as I did say on my last video, I really, really want Jadon Sancho, to come in to Manchester United. But as I said, a player of his calibre, wants to be playing to the highest level, wants to be up there competing, wants to be in Champions League football. And Manchester United are not in Champions League football for next season. We do know anyway, Jadon Sancho is going to cost us around at least £100 million if we've got any chance of getting him this summer. But for me, Jadon Sancho, would link up very, very well in our attacking line. He can play between the bylines. He can put crosses into the box. He can put crosses into the box, can Jadon Sancho, and he's been fantastic in his couple of years with Borussia Dortmund. But I think if he was to make a return to the Premier League, because obviously he's had experience of playing in the Premier League, of course, when he was at Manchester City, in his couple of years with City, I think it would create a better platform for him if he was to make a return to the Premier League, Jadon Sancho. But he's only 19 years of age. He's one of England's youngest upcoming talents, is Jadon Sancho. So I definitely, would want him at Manchester United, and I think he'd link up very, very well in our line, in our attacking line. He can score goals, he can provide assists, he shows that ability to attack. His pace is really, really good, his ball control's good, his work ethic's really, really good. So I think he'd fit the Manchester United agenda fantastically well, but I think it's going to be difficult for us to get him. So obviously one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's priorities, of course, is to get a right winner in. But we need a couple of additions in that midfield, and we do know there has been more news in the media, well, should I say yesterday now, because it's 25 past 12, but it's been going on, for quite a while now. Bruno Fernandes has been linked with a move to Manchester United, but now reports were coming out yesterday in the press saying that reportedly Manchester City are in talks with Sporting Lisbon over the £42 million deal for Bruno Fernandes. It did now say Manchester City reportedly are are in pole position, but it did say Manchester City are in talks with Sporting Lisbon over the £42 million deal for Bruno Fernandes. It did also say that City could offload one of their players as part of the deal, so you could say it's a players plus cash deal, and City are willing to offer £42 million for Bruno Fernandes. And as I did say, bigger teams are going to go in for the likes of Bruno Fernandes, and of course Manchester City are in Champions League for next season. Manchester United are not, so probably from Bruno's Fernandes' perspective, he'd prefer the move to Manchester City. But Manchester United are still in there, for Bruno Fernandes. And obviously, Manchester United have been in negotiations with his representatives over the summer move. Reports were coming out yesterday saying that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker was demanding Manchester United, to go out and sign, Bruno Fernandes for around £85 million, because he has got a release clause of around £90 million in his deal with Sporting Lisbon. He's got a contract with Sporting Lisbon till 2023. But Bruno Fernandes is a really good player. I think this season he scored 31 goals. I think he's provided about 16, 17 assists in about 50 appearances. So he's got lots of goals. Lots of assists in him. I think he's predominantly an attacking midfielder, is Bruno Fernandes. So we'd actually see him as a replacement for Paul Pogba. But he can score goals. He can provide assists. Can Bruno Fernandes? He's only 24 years of age, so he's still got a lot of years ahead of him. So it would be good for him, to come and experience the Premier League. So he's been a potential Manchester United target. We do know there's been a lot of talks about Benfica's Joao Felix. It's also saying now that Manchester City are going in for Joao Felix. I like Joao Felix. Again, he's predominantly an attacking midfielder, is Joao Felix. But I think he can also, play as a winner. He can play as a striker. So he is a versatile player. His performances this season have been very, very good for Benfica. Again, his work ethic is good. His physicality is good. He can score goals. He can provide. And it's only his first season in the senior squad with Benfica. Reportedly got a buyout clause around £100 million. But it did actually say in the media that the Portuguese duo Bruno Fernandes and Joao Felix would reportedly cost Manchester United in total of around £150 million. But yeah, both very, very good players. Joao Felix, as I did say, he's got a buyout clause around £100 million. But Man United have been scouting, Bruno Fernandes for quite a while. We've been scouting, Joao Felix, for the last couple of months, based on their fantastic performances. So yeah, I'd like, them to come in to Manchester United, because they are very, very good players indeed. Joao Felix is 19. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him. Bruno Fernandes, of course, is 24. So obviously Bruno Fernandes, obviously he's more experienced than Joao Felix. But I really, really like both players, to be quite honest with you. And there's been other midfielders I mentioned, and that I do really, really like Declan Rice. Declan Rice is a really, really good player. He's a defensive midfielder, can play as a centre-back, but I think he's mainly defensive midfielder, is Declan Rice. Declan Rice, he can break up the play. Declan Rice is an energetic midfielder, and I think he'd fit in the mix fantastically well, and I think he'd fit in very, very well in our midfield, Declan Rice, if he was to come in. And I think West Ham would want around £50 million for him, if he was to come in this summer. Obviously, he has got a contract at West Ham until 2024. I think he signed this new long-term contract back in December of last year, probably reflecting on his impressive performances this season for West Ham. But he's only 20 years of age. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him. Premier League proven, of course, because he's been at West Ham a number of years now. He's been in the senior squad quite a few years as Declan Rice, and potentially learned his trade in the Premier League. And I think he's been fantastic. He's growing, developing and flourishing fantastically well, is Declan Rice. But yeah, I do really, really like him indeed, and I'd love him to come to Manchester United. So I think he'd hold that line very, very well if he was recommended to come in. So yeah, there's been quite a few midfielders mentioned. Quite a few weeks back there was talks about Solsjaker from Atletico Madrid. Again, a versatile midfielder, can play as a defensive mid, can play as a central mid, can play on the right. Again, only 24 years of age, lots of years ahead of him. Of course, he's never played in the Premier League, Solsjaker, but obviously I think he's spent the entirety of his career in Spain with Atletico Madrid, and I think he graduated from their youth system. He's grown and developed very, very well, and he's going to make like over 200 odd competitive appearances for Atletico Madrid Football Club. So yeah, there has been talks about him, but I think he's reportedly got a release clause around £128 million as Solsjaker. So yeah, there's been quite a few midfielders thrown into the phrase. But yeah, I think we need three new additions in that midfield if Paul Pogba leaves. Of course, Manchester United are in search for the right back. Of course, I told you the one I'd like to come in. I'd like Aaron Wan-Bissaka to come in. He's been one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, though, I don't think we're going to get him in the summer. As I did say to you guys, he's fully committed to Crystal Palace. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, he's only been in the senior squad with Crystal Palace about 15, 16 months. I think he's going to make like 40 senior appearances for Crystal Crystal Palace, but he's only 21 years of age. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him as Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And I think, initially, he could get Aaron Wan-Bissaka maybe for around £40 million, but he's also, been a potential Manchester United target. So there has been quite a few right-backs, Manchester United have been interested in. But going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, reports have been coming out about, Anthony Martial and all that, saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is reportedly, ready to kick Anthony Martial out of the club, and reportedly is considering offers for Anthony Martial this summer. But obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is reportedly, ready to kick him out of the club. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is reflecting on his on Anthony Martial's bad attitude in training, and now reportedly he's considering, sanctioning Anthony Martial off this summer. But obviously, we do know he's been in a bad run of form. He's been in a bad. His performances have been really, really poor, at least in the last couple of months, and he's been so inconsistent as Anthony Martial. But Anthony Martial, had disputes with Jose Mourinho, when Jose Mourinho was here. But when Anthony Martial first came into the club, in his first season, he was very, very impressive for Manchester United, and he was good. He was in good form early on this season, but he just failed to replicate that in the last couple of months as Anthony Martial. So there has been reports coming out about that. I think there was reports going on about it the other week as well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a go at Anthony Martial, and Solskjaer's becoming infuriated with Anthony Martial and all that. So yeah, there has been talks about that going on. So as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer lost the dressing room, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, lost the dressing room. But I think, the players are actually, losing the fans as well. But I still, anyway, as I said, I still think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the right man to take Manchester United forward. I still believe he's the right man. But as I said, he's still in the process of developing, he's still in the process, of rebuilding, because none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. I still believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a better fit for this squad and what currently Jose Mourinho was. But Solskjaer is looking to buy into our history, of course. And, it's going to take us a couple of years, to get us back to that level as well as under Ferguson. I think at least 3 or 4 years. I think we're at least a couple of years off Manchester City's level, of course, and we've got to invest this summer, because other teams, are going to invest. Arsenal are going to try and invest more into their squad. City, I think, are going to invest. Liverpool are going to invest. So we've got to invest this summer, and we've got to be ruthless in this summer transfer window, and that is very, very essential indeed. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribing to the channel, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.